Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Tuesday Night Live show for May 24th, 2022. Recently, there has been a lot of talk about how many of us Christmas performers or entertainers in all fields is struggling to manage our businesses. CRM, or Customer Relationship Management as it's called, is a process in which a business administers and interactions with customers. Tonight's guest has taken this problem and developed a CRM known as Kringle Tracker. Kringle Tracker is an all-in-one solution to help manage the business side of being Santa, tracking clients, invoices, agreements, expenses, and more. Tonight's guest, the developer of Kringle Tracker, is here to tell us everything about this system. Please stick around. We'll have a lot more right after this. I'm Santa Bob McMasters, and this is Tuesday Night Live. Welcome back to our show, and at this time, please say hello to my co-host, Mr. Santa Barry Cummins.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be with you tonight. I hope you all are doing well. Glad you all along for the ride tonight. Buckle up.
Oh, yes, and after last week, everyone has commented and really thrown flowers your way. It's an excellent show that we had last week with you as our special guest. It was a pleasure to interview you, and looking forward to next week. But tonight we've got a great show we want to get right to here. So also give a warm welcome to our world famous producer, Angela Mack, who is always working hard to make this show great for all of us to enjoy. So, okay, this week we're at week 20 already, season 2, and we've learned so much from all of our guests. This week we have another great guest who is going to share a tool that can simplify our business with an all-in-one solution. Before we bring out Roger, who will be coming up in a few moments, let's do this, followed by trivia.
All right, everyone. Everyone first reach up there and give us a like and share this stream to help build our viewership in the show tonight. We know you have a choice with your time. Thank you for being with us. The first half of the Tuesday Night Live show trivia is sponsored by Derek Dugan's Sleigh Driver Apparel Company. Thank you so much, Derek, for your sponsorship. All right, here we go. It's movie trivia. In the movie Elf, which aired in 2003, why does Santa sleigh crash in Central Park? In the 2003 movie Elf, why does Santa sleigh crash in Central Park? Good luck on those answers.
That's right. Go ahead and start submitting your answers. As always, if you won in the last 30 days, you are in timeout, so you're not eligible to play. Give someone else a chance at winning some of those great prizes that we give away. And, of course, as always, we will announce the winners tomorrow. Tonight, at the end of tonight's show, we'll give the answers to the trivia questions as we do each week.
All right. We'll see some good answers coming in there. So let's go ahead and move along. Tonight's special guest comes to us from Fowlerville, Michigan. Have you got that other promo?
Yes.
Okay, let's run it.
The first half of tonight's Tuesday Night Live show is brought to you by Derek Dugan's Sleigh Driver Apparel Company. You can find Derek's store on etsy.com/shop/sleighDriverApparel or contact Derek Dugan for all your custom apparel needs. Now back to our show with Bob Berry and Angela. This is Tuesday Night Live.
All right, tonight's special guest comes to us from Fowlerville, Michigan, and has been spreading joy and cheer for over 20 years. He has magically merged all his passions together, serving magic and technology into his performance and portrayal. He is a chief technology officer for a Chicago based company and noticed how much of a challenge it was to manage the business side of Santa. He also sits on the board of directors for MAPS, that's the Michigan Association of Professional Santas, and runs the organization's technical needs for their website and events hosted. Please welcome to the Tuesday Night Live show tonight's guest, Santa Roger Minton. Welcome, Roger.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, it's good to have you here, man. I think we're all so eager to hear about this Kringle tracker that we're trying to jump ahead in our program tonight, but that's okay. Hey, that's what we got you on here for. So let's get started off by getting to know more about Roger before Santa. You mentioned that you first become interested in magic starting out at a very young age. Tell us what age you got started and how did you learn the craft? And while we're on it, were you inspired by someone or did you have a mentor?
So, like any young 6-year-old, I was rowdy and did not sit well in class. Was constantly fidgeting. And one of the lunch ladies that my mother worked with, showed me how to make a quarter disappear. And it took off from there. I started looking at magic books and checking them out from the library. I was in 3rd grade at the time, so I was pulling out 6th and 7th grade reading level books and trying to figure it out. And I didn't have a mentor, wasn't really inspired by anybody, but then it took off from there and went to, learning about David Copperfield and Lance Burton and Harry Houdini and all the big names in magic.
That sounds like a lot of fun, Roger. And I know you said in your bio that you did some work in theater as a theater technician. Tell us a little bit about that and then how you got into designing websites and what you do now for a living.
Right. Yeah, so I started, I was always doing magic. So well into high school, I was always in front of people performing and having a good time doing weddings and birthday parties. And so when I got into high school and the chance to be in theater, I wanted to take the backseat in things and look at the behind the scenes. So I didn't want to act on stage. So I started working, doing tech crew and sound and lights. I became a theater technician for the school that I graduated from. And then from there, while I was in high school, which was in the early 2000s, I started learning about websites and developing websites for myself, starting off with a magic website to promote my magic business. And then it gravitated into helping other small businesses in my area get a web presence. And it kind of blossomed from there. And I just naturally accelerated from websites to web applications to architecting, and then finally moving up those ranks to running full development teams and designing systems for other companies.
That's awesome. In the background, that's awful important. Like what Bob and I do, we couldn't do it without Angela running the background. So that's a very important task.
Yes, it is. And this is something we always like to find out from our fellow entertainers about their memory of Santa. So what is your earliest memory of Santa as a child? And did you ever get to go visit Santa as a youngster and share your Christmas wish list?
Yeah, so I had, a lot of chances to visit Santa. My earliest memory of Santa, I really don't have a very specific memory. My uncle was a Santa, so I know at some point I was, on his lap, spilling out my Christmas wishes. But probably the best memory I had was one of my fellow magicians that I had met was a Santa Claus, and he started doing my family's Christmas party that we had each year. And the second year in, he asked me to be his elf. So I was then donned Twinkle Toes the elf. So that's probably my most prominent Santa Claus and Christmas memory.
That's a cool memory.
Absolutely. Roger, tell us about the first time that you donned the red suit, and were you asked, like many of us, just out of the blue to do that? And the second part of the question is, what was it in that moment that you just knew that you had to continue down the path of Santa Claus?
Yeah, so my kids were about 3 and 5 years old in that age range, and we were gearing up for our family Christmas party. And that Santa that had me be his elf called me up, and he said, "I hate to do it to you. 2 days before, I got to cancel. I have congestive heart failure, and I can't do it anymore." And I'm standing there with my dad and my aunt, and my aunt looks at me and says, "I got your uncle's suit. You just need to go get a beard." So thus began the quest of finding a beard, and I went to Party City and picked up one and put on a 45-year-old Santa suit that my aunt made, and did Santa Claus for us for that party that first year. And the where it really bit me was uh, having both my kids on my lap.
That's a special memory. And do you still have that suit?
Oh, I do. It's hanging up down here with all my other suits.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. My question would be, did your children recognize you as dad, or did they just see Santa?
No, so it was, my dad was going to do it, but he was afraid that they would recognize him, so that's why I stepped up and did it. And when they had no clue. They both looked me right in the eye, and I thought it was over. And then they didn't recognize me. It wasn't until about 5 years later, doing that same event with them, my oldest son got up on my knee, and I said, "Hey, buddy," and it was over from there. He knew exactly who it was, and I was like, "Oh, he caught me."
So how long did you wear the popper, the beard with the strap, the synthetic beard?
Oh gosh, my first 8 years or so doing Santa, and then we with our kids we did the story that Santa has asked me to be a helper Santa, and being invited into that. So that's when I started growing my beard out and bleaching it, and then from there, to my kids, seeing dad in a Santa suit's like seeing me in my pajamas every day. It's normal for them now.
Right. So over the course of those 8 years, did you ever upgrade, or was you using the same synthetic you got from Party City?
No, I once that one came ratted after about 3 years, I went online and found a nice yak beard set. And that's actually how I found the Michigan Association of Professional Santas, is because after a year of using that and doing, a handful of events, I wanted to learn how to care for that investment. And that led me over to MAPS. And then I used that for about 4 or 5 years, and then started growing my real beard.
And there's so many of us that started off with the synthetic beard, or the cheapy beard, the strap beard, whatever you want to call it. But I know for me, the children love to pop that thing. Did anybody ever pop yours? Pull it?
No, yeah, no, I never had that issue, because the even that very first time, being in theater and being around theater, I knew exactly what spirit gum was, and I knew how to use it. So that was I didn't want to take that chance with my kids, so that thing was glued to my face, and I had a few kids yank on it that time, and it yanked just like a real beard, and it hurt just like a real beard.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so let's move along. Do you work alone, or does your wife accompany you as Mrs. Claus? And what about the rest of the family? Over the years, has anyone else gotten involved?
So, for the longest time, it was just my uncle, and he passed away in the early 2000s, and then I picked it up in the later 2000s. And my wife originally did not start going out with me as Mrs. Claus. She wasn't a big fan of Christmas at first, and I got a call to fill in for a Santa that canceled at the last minute, and they asked me if I had a Mrs. Claus, and I told my wife, I said, "Hey, do you want to do this, or do I need to reach out to MAPS and see if I can find a Mrs. Claus?" And being in theater and in the Renaissance festivals that we are in, she whipped up a Mrs. Claus dress that first year. Came with me. She had some fun, and then it kind of just progressed year after year. She got more comfortable with it, and we both do it. We have about 10 events that we do each year together.
I know there's so many Santas have shared with us over the course of time that when they got started, their wife sat on the sideline, didn't really want to get involved at first, and somehow or another they saw how much fun us Santas were having and said, "Hey, let me get in on some of the action," and ended up joining in as a Mrs. Claus. Barry?
Yeah, Roger, we always like to ask because we feel it's important when in sharing and teaching. As a Santa, tell us one of your most important success stories that you've had in the red suit.
So when it comes down to successes, it's kind of hard for me to define a success. I want to know that I've done a good job. I want to know that I've spread that spirit, made everybody happy. And really the only way that we get that is feedback at the event. And then if we get some reviews from our clients that we go through. So this past year was probably my most proud moment of being Santa. And I filled in for a photographer that had a last minute cancellation with her Santa. And I did short mini sessions. I worked for 4 hours that first day, and we saw probably 300 kids in those 4 hours. And the very first comment that came out of her clients was, "You've got to go book this guy. You got to get your sessions done with him because she has the best Santa. He's the most gentle Christmas card quality Santa." And that was the moment that I knew I did something right.
It's always great to get that feedback. And like a lot of us, even in successes or failures, we evaluate those, and, every experience and visit's a learning experience.
Right.
Yes, it is. So, all right. So at this time, let's take our first little short breather here. Kind of give you a second to collect your thoughts again. Right now, we're going to take a break for our special product announcement. So stay with us right after this. Oh, yeah. Stop the show. It's time for the Tuesday Night Live Showstopper Special for this week's StuffForSanta.com Showstopper Special. We can't go out to Spangle. He's busy working on the School of Santas, trying to finalize everything there again tonight, out of pocket with us. So I'm going to give us the Showstopper Special for tonight. Barry, you want to show them the Santa ring that you're wearing? See if we can get a close-up of that, Angela.
All right. Here.
It'll bring us up so we can get a little clearer picture of it. There you go. Beautiful Santa ring. On one side, it has a reindeer with a large rack. On the other side is a sleigh. Has Santa across the front, a red ruby style stone in the center, and that is surrounded by smaller white zirconia and 2 different sizes. Those are normally $75 on StuffForSanta.com website with $10 shipping. That would be a total of $85. Spangle's running that for 1 week till next Monday for $40 with free shipping. That also includes the Mrs. Claus portion. He has a ring for Mrs. Claus. It's smaller in size, but real similar to that one. And it's also on special for $40 for the week. So get a chance, get out there, get you one of those. I know me and Barry have a lot of fun with ours. It seems that people notice it. I went and had a checkup this last week at my doctor's office. He always has to take mine off and look at it. And he's seen it several times, but he's still fascinated by it. So get out there and get yourself one.
And they come in silver and gold finishes also.
That's true. Very true. All right. So on to the next thing here. Stick with us.
You are watching Tuesday Night Live with Bob Barry and Angela. Sponsored by StuffForSanta.com and SchoolofSantas.com, where you can find everything you need for your Santa and Mrs. Claus professional business. Remember, if Spangle ain't got it, you just don't need it, so contact Spangle today for all your red suit accessories and more. And be sure and tell everyone where you got all that cool stuff. Now back to our show with Bob Berry, Angela, and, of course, more Spangle with trivia fun.
All right, Spangle's not here, so I'm going to go ahead and guess the Spangle StuffForSanta.com and SchoolOfSantas.com trivia question. Go ahead, Barry.
I got a point. Santa Everett want to know if it's only two sizes. Only what he meant is two finishes, silver and gold. It comes size 10 through, is it 18 or 19?
10 through 18 for men's and 6 through 9 for the women. I failed to mention that. That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. 10 through 18 for men, 6 through 9 for women. And Roger and Barry and I were talking before the show. I actually have one in both sizes, one that fits my bare hand that I wear casually, and then one that is the next size up that I wear on my white glove. Because with that glove, the thickness of the cotton glove makes a difference. So, yes, you have to buy two of them to do that, but it was worth it for me to be able to wear it. All right, then, back to the trivia question for StuffForSanta.com and SchoolOfSantas.com. Here we go. Every child wanted what Whammo toy for Christmas in 1957? Every child wanted what Whammo toy for Christmas in 1957? Go ahead and start throwing your answers in there. As we said earlier, if you're in timeout, give everyone else a chance. And this was a fun one. I think just about everybody I know had this toy at one time or another. You know, back in the 50s, 60s, it was something you did. You went outside and had fun with this toy. Looks like we got some good answers coming in there. So let's move right along. Roger, let's continue for a moment with your Santa journey. Tell us about the hardest and most rewarding event Santa Roger has been part of.
So the hardest and most rewarding was when I visited Mott's Children's Hospital. Mott's Children's Hospital here in Ann Arbor does what they call a Santa Day. And at Mott's, they have 12 floors for just the Children's Hospital. And what they do is they get 12 volunteers to come in and visit each floor. And I got involved with that, and when I showed up with all the other volunteers, I was the only actual Santa. I had my own suit. Obviously, I had a beard, but they provided everything with us for us. They had rental suits and the fake beards and everything. But when they saw me, I wasn't aware of what they were talking about, but they said he's going to floor 10. And when we got in there and we're dressing, everybody's asking me questions about it. And I said, well, what's floor 10? And they said, well, that's where the terminal kids are. So it was the hardest thing.
Those are tough because they pull at your heartstrings so bad. You know, I've mentioned this time and time again while I give you this moment to compose yourself. But we are human. We are all human. We have hearts. It's really hard sometimes in the role of Santa to try to compose yourself. There's been times I've lost it in a suit. I'm sure everybody has at one time or another. But, it's just who we are. We're humans and we have compassion, or we wouldn't be doing the job that we do.
Right.
Continue, Roger.
But it was so rewarding. I would love to do it again.
You know what's great about tears is God speaks that language. He knows what each of those tears are.
Amen.
Whew.
You just take your
Yeah.
time, brother.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun doing it. Very hard, but uh, out of 14 years as Santa, it is by far the best thing I've done.
You know, they'll stay with you too. Those will be with you to the day you die and then some.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, Roger, have you ever felt like at the time while performing as Santa that you might have failed at something, and what did you learn from that experience?
So the failure for me was internal. I didn't feel like uh, I didn't feel like my clients saw the failure, but I definitely did. And I got I got asked to visit after Christmas on the 26th one year. And the little boy's parents just divorced, and he was concerned that since he was spending his first Christmas with mom, that Santa would not visit dad. So dad and stepmom invited me over. It was one child. I delivered three presents. I knew exactly what three presents they were. Um, and I visited this kid. He was surprised that Santa showed up at his house, at his dad's house, and we went in. We chatted for a little bit. Got him up on my lap and started handing him gifts out. And the first two were relatively small gifts, but his large gift from Santa that year was a magic kit. Um, 20 years of doing magic. His kid ripped it open, and Santa Roger became Magic Roger instantly. I started talking to him about everything on this kit. Oh my gosh, the linking rings, the cups and balls. We flipped it over. They had, pictures of famous magicians on the back, Harry Houdini and Dunning and all this. And um, I'm we spent about 5 minutes talking about this magic kit, and that's when I realized, whoa, I broke character. It's the only time that I've ever broken character as Santa, and for me it felt like a failure, but when I looked up, mom and dad's jaws were just dropped. Like, how does Santa know all of this information? I mean, I was talking with this child about here in Michigan, in Colon, Michigan, it's the magic capital of the world. And every August, they have Abbott's Magic Get Together. And it's a week long event of magic lectures, kind of like we do with Santa. And I was telling him he needs to come to this and all the local magic rings and stores in our area. So that was my failure. It was a success, but for me personally, it was a failure because I broke character and I was Roger for a few minutes with that child, not Santa.
That's a good tip too, but that gives us the importance of knowing what these toys are and how they operate on some of these, what these children are asking for. Because, if Santa builds them, we should know a little bit about them.
And, I don't think that child probably even recognized the fact that you had really slipped out of character, because Santa knows everything, right?
Yeah, right. That's why I said it. It was a failure for me personally because I know I slipped up, but I do know that for him and for mom and dad, because the email that I got the next day, from the mom and dad was, we didn't know that we picked a magician to talk to our child and give him a magic kit. So it was a lot of fun at the end of the day. I followed up a few months after Christmas and got them involved with a magic ring. And, last I knew, he was attending there and he was starting to learn. So it was
in the racing field, when I was racing, there was a saying, it's better to be good or lucky than good. And that's so true. Sometimes you just luck out.
Roger, let's switch gears here. You soon noticed how much of a challenge it was to manage the business side of Santa. Being overwhelmed, tracking all the clients, invoices, and dates, you decided to build something for the Santa community. Tell us about the Kringle Tracker CRM software.
Right. So, over the years, even managing my magic business, I always had trouble, doing everything with pen and paper. When I started out as Santa, the first few years was relatively easy because I only had a handful of events. As I got more serious about it from the business side and taking on more clients and more events, that's when I noticed that there wasn't really a good way for Santas to track all of our items that we have to track. So I had been brainstorming this. This is going on about 5 years. I've been contemplating the idea. And as my business has grown, it's been increasingly more difficult for me to manage my business. So I started toying around with the idea. What does Santa do differently than other CRM systems? Most CRM systems are focused around the client. That's why they're called a customer relationship management system. And with Santa, for us, everything's about the event. It's a time slot on our calendar. It's attached to a client. It's attached to details about the kids we're visiting, about the hours we're taking, props that we may have if we're doing storytelling with props. So I quickly realized that that's where the disconnect is. We need to be focused on the event and not the client when it comes to the software that's managing it. So last year, I started talking to Santa Michael Howe and a few other Santas and running the idea by them, and got some feedback that said, yeah, that would be something interesting. As I progressed through my season last year, the week leading up to Christmas, I had so many different virtual events and in-person events that I got extremely frustrated. So I was lucky enough to be one of the T-Mobile Santas this year. And during some downtime, I had a piece of paper while I was waiting for my next client, and I started sketching it out on how all of this data that we need to track goes together. And that was the first real push with Kringle Tracker. Coming in after the season, I started putting more effort into it, and Santa Michael Howe mentioned it in a Facebook group, and then you guys had him on your show, and that's when we saw that the need was much larger than I ever anticipated. So Kringle Tracker is a CRM built by Santa for Santa. We're going to track all the clients, all the dates, all of the invoices, all of your expenses. It'll sync to Google Calendar, or it'll sync to other calendar systems that you're going to use. And it's going to tie all that into one nice, neat little package. So that way you can focus on making memories during the season, and you can have all your scheduling needs taken care of. So that's really what it boils down to. We have a lot of different features that we're looking at. We were getting great feedback. We were at ISC in Atlanta this year, and I talked to a bunch of people in the community and got some good ideas for features that we had thought about but wasn't sure if it would fit right in the Santa community. And I got some good connections with some CPAs. So when it comes time for reporting and taxes, we're going to be working with them to make sure that it's a one-click button so that your expenses go out and you can hand it to your accountant, or easily do the taxes yourself if that's how you do it.
And I know a lot of Santas will want to know what's going to kind of be the price factor here for the Kringle Tracker.
Yeah, so when we go, we've been doing a lot of thought on this and how this is going to work. So there's a lot of different complexities with software, but we are aiming for the $175 to $250 a year for a subscription. There'll be another monthly subscription model if that's something that you choose, but that's the range that we're falling into. My goal was to just make it so that the average Santa can do 1 to 2 events and pay for the software to manage their season. So that's kind of the thought process that we've had behind that. And I know it's a big question that's out there.
I know another thing too, like, can this be updated over time when more ideas come out And
Right. Yeah. So the way that web software works, it's software as a service. That's the technical term. And so when you buy that subscription for a year, any updates that we make, any new features we add throughout that year, you get them automatically for free. There's no charge. Now, if you stop using it or you let your subscription expire, you obviously don't have access to the system. But if 6 months later you pick it back up because you realize I do need it, you'll get all of the stuff that is available at that time and that day. So it's a model that's constantly improving, and I value feedback from users and from the community. So any features that maybe not are there or not available at launch, we're definitely going to have them in there, and we'll be building more and constantly improving it.
it's great.
Have you got an exact or approximate rollout date for the Kringle tracker?
So we're shooting for July of this year. I know that a lot of us have already started taking bookings for the upcoming season. So we're trying to get it out, but I do not want to rush it and put out a product that is not working or doesn't fulfill the need. So July is our aiming, what we're going to launch there for. And we've got some beta testing happening right now. So we're working on those features, and we're going to go through iterations of that. And then we'll make an announcement when we have a hard launch date.
We have a couple questions real quick.
Yeah, I was going to say normally we would wait and get our questions and comments further down into the show, but since this is so important, let's go ahead and cover the questions that are coming in just on the Kringle tracker.
Yeah.
Santa Everett wants to know, will you have it ready to fill contracts? And you just kind of addressed that, I think.
Yeah, so we're going to have the contract system. You'll be able to create your own contracts. We're going to have some templates in there, so a starting point for you. You'll be able to duplicate those and keep them, modify them to your use with your logo and your name. But if you have a special contract you've been using for years, you'll be able to copy and paste that in there, tweak a few of the details so the system can populate that information for you, and then save it, and it'll be ready to reuse over and over for all those events.
Thomas Elmeyer says, is it comparable to Office Scheduler by ProSanta Solutions? It's less expensive per year.
Yeah, so we're going to have similar feature sets at the end of the day. What I know at the top about ProSanta Solutions is it'll track your invoices, but it won't allow your clients to pay online. I could be wrong if that is a feature. I'm not fully versed in their system, but that's the feedback I got at ISC, was that theirs didn't allow a client to pay. So when you send an invoice out, your client will get an email. They'll be able to click on there. If you have PayPal or credit cards integrated into it, it'll be they'll be able to click pay right online, and then that money will go through whatever payment provider you have.
Santa Everett's got a good question here. How about notes from each visit or event, i.e. what happened, good or bad, what was performed, etc., and maybe even the children's name and elf names?
Yep. Yeah, so the heart of a customer management or CRM solution is notes and being able to keep that history. So you'll have it on a few different levels. You're going to have it notes on the event level. You'll have public notes that you and your client both can see. You'll have private notes on that event. You'll also have public and private notes on your actual client record, so you can keep track of that. When we get a little more detailed with, if you're going to be using storytelling and props and shows and routines, and you do a much larger set, you'll be able to track which ones of those you did for an actual event as well.
Will it be usable by markets other than Santa's, i.e. magicians, musicians, party clowns?
Yeah, so the idea is we're performers at the end of the day. And most other performers, magicians and clowns, they're event-based too. So it will work for them. And we're going to have different things in the system to allow them to tweak that. So if they are a magician, they'll be able to tailor the system to have that for their magic shows and what they do as well.
Next question. We hand documents all this information at the end of last year for all our visits. I have no idea where that info is now. Santa Everett again.
Well, Santa Everett, hopefully next year it's all inside of Kringle Tracker.
Go ahead, Barry.
Okay. Oh, I was just looking. The question was up there and it's gone.
I don't think it was really a question, it was a comment.
It was a comment, she said.
Okay. Okay.
Thomas L. Myers, by the way, says, cool, thanks for your answer to his.
Will there be any technology where you could use that? I noticed you look like you got an iPhone or something on there. Can you put those together?
Yeah, so there'll be a few different ways that you'll be able to do it. It won't be an actual app that you install on your phone. It's something that's called a web app. So you'll be able to use Safari, Chrome, Firefox, anything, both on Android and iPhone. So it'll tie into that. So you'll be able to pick up that and look at your events on the go. And then in terms of integrating, if you have your calendar synced to your phone, Google, for example, Kringle Tracker will sync to your Google Calendar, and your Google Calendar will sync to your iPhone. So you'll have all your events there, and you'll be able to see all that.
Does it interface with QuickBooks? Bart Gaffney wants to know.
So it does not interface yet with QuickBooks. It is on the feature list. That is something that's a lot more involved. So it'll be a feature that's added later this year or early next year.
What about like an iPhone can track when you're walking and stuff, your distance traveled? Can it keep up with that, or you have to put it in?
So the way that we're gonna roll out mileage tracking in a few different steps. The basic model will be you'll be able to track just how many miles that event is, so that way you can feed it into your expenses. Stage 2 will be you'll be able to put in more details like your start and stop odometer. And then stage 3 that we have planned is allowing permissions to the app from your phone will allow us to track the location. So we'll be able to track the miles, and you'll be able to append that to your event as well.
Nice.
Very good. I don't see any other questions at this time, so let's kind of move along here. I do have one here for myself, and this is kind of a question ties to that a little bit. What advice would you give others about using technology-based tools to improve their Santa business as self-promoters?
Yeah. So, whether you're using Kringle Tracker or any other system to track your events, just make sure it's something that you're comfortable with. That's the most frustrating part with technology is if you're not comfortable with it, when we get in the middle of a season, it's really hard when something doesn't work right and you're not familiar with it, which is why we're trying to roll out early enough so that way everyone has time to learn that interface. And then in terms of self-promoting, your website's one of your biggest things, followed by Facebook. And if you want to get really detailed into helping promote your Santa business, learning how to utilize Facebook and Instagram ads is a big thing that can help you. I usually run some ads each year in October to fill up the missing dates. And I'll spend $10 a day, $20 a day on Facebook where you can target your markets in your area. And then people in your area are seeing your ad for your Facebook page, your website, and then they can book you. And I've had great success with that.
Yeah, I've had a couple other Santas tell me the same thing, that they've used that same tool through Facebook, and it has been effective for them. Will payment be able to be taken via the application?
Yes. So when you send out an invoice from Kringle Tracker to your client, they'll get an email with a link. They'll click on there. They'll see your invoice that you've put together with whatever payment details you have, and they'll be able to pay online.
Fantastic. All right, so Roger, what's next for Santa Roger? Do you set goals, personal goals as far as a Santa? Is there more things on your bucket list to do and accomplish?
Yeah, so my biggest hurdle with Santa is I have a day job. I'm working 9 to 5, and over the past 2 years, I love being Santa and being part of the community so much that my next goal is to be able to leave my day job so that way I can be Santa 100%. I don't know how long that's going to take, but that is the next big goal for me when it comes to Santa Roger.
Yeah, you being on the younger side of professionalism as a Santa, it's a little different for you than us old guys that are retired and are able to devote all of our time into other things, making that living every day as you do. Barry?
Roger, what was some of the biggest challenges you had breaking into the red suit, and even after the first couple of seasons, getting your Santa business built up from year to year?
So I think my biggest challenge was getting over the nerves. I think a lot of new Santas, at least from what I hear, is I'm scared I'm going to mess something up in front of the kids. I don't know how to answer kids' questions, and that was definitely my fear at the very beginning. Once I got a few years under my belt, I got more comfortable in there. Um, but every time I go into a visit, whether it's a parade or a home visit, right before I knock on that door or I step out in front of the audience, I have those butterflies. Um, and building that business is what do I want to do? We have so many different avenues as Santa that we can portray, from tree lightings to parades to home visits. I've done a little bit of everything, and it's kind of solidifying where I want to be. And it changes for me every year because I enjoy all the different aspects of it. So that's a hard part for me, is kind of settling into a groove and finding out where I want to be.
Now, have you always done what we term as independent work, or have you ever had a chair job, or even considered doing say, one of the box stores or a mall?
So I would consider I've done some chair work. I filled in for a Santa at Morley's Candy Factory here in Michigan. That is more chair based, but it's not traditional what you'd consider like a Bass Pro Shop. So it's usually one weekend, 2 days. You're in the chair with a line. That's about the closest it is. And then I started off doing home visits, and then I got hired for a tree lighting, and then I got hired to do a parade, and I got hired to, do storytelling at a library. So it kind of just branched out into everything.
Is there any one thing that you like the most out of all those that you mentioned?
I think out of everything this past year, I did a lot more storytelling, whether it was at a home or for a library. That is my newest passion, is sitting down and not just reading "Twas the Night Before Christmas," but telling stories. And if we need to read "Twas the Night Before Christmas," not just reading it, but really having fun with the audience with it, and kind of going that way.
Well, Roger, when we had your fellow MAPS member on, Michael Howe, on the show, he shared with Bob and I how you guys routinely and usually weekly get together to help each other in improving your performance by critiquing each other. Explain to our viewers tonight how that has made you a better Santa and better at improv.
Yeah, we get together a lot, whether it's virtually or in person. And we don't just try to focus on improv. We try to focus on anything that someone may need help with. So this past year, Michael Howe ran a storytelling session, and we all learned how to do different aspects of storytelling, following up with a recital. So we were able to have that community become better together and learn from each other from that standpoint.
That's so important. You guys have really got it going on up there. Appreciate what y'all do.
Yeah. So it's, the important thing is it doesn't matter if it's just two Santas or if it's 50 Santas getting together. You're going to learn something, and just sharing experiences and how you handle certain situations. My favorite answer to "What's my address, Santa?" Came from a gathering just like that. We had 10 or 15 Santas that met for lunch, and one Santa said, I just give them a random number and say, oh, your house is 864,393.4. And when they look at you like you're crazy, you go, oh, you want me to say your street address. I don't go by street addresses. I go by rooftop addresses.
That's really good. That's a great tip. Yeah. Well, before we close out the show, is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to add or share? Any special thoughts or encouraging words?
I'll say one thing about Kringle Tracker. If you want more information, you can go to the website, sign up for the announcements on there, and when we launch. And just to follow back up on that socialization with us, just schedule a luncheon, call Leo's, or call a local restaurant, get a table, and invite a bunch of your Santa friends and just go hang out for the day, because we're better together at the end of the day, and we're going to learn and grow together.
Absolutely. Bob just sent me a message. He left the building like Elvis did, but a lightning strike, so he's still trying to get back on and everything. So anyway, stay with us here, because we would be honored to have you to do our Santa's point of view tonight. We use this time as a teaching moment to share a tip or a point of view from an experience you may have had. We may not have that video lead in, so if you want to go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah. So from my point of view, and this is something that I really learned this past season, is do not underestimate the power of a simple prop. Whether it's a photo or a book, it can really mean everything. And when last season I did a family's Thanksgiving dinner, so I went out on Thanksgiving. They had about 20 or 25 people there, and I did my whole presentation. I brought out my fairy box, explained all those fairy dust bottles, and then I went on my way. And the mom that had hired me the next day to come back in 2 weeks for the neighborhood party. And her only concern was that her two kids were going to see the same Santa, and she wanted to make sure I wasn't going to do the same things. I explained to her, I have a few things we'll talk about that are the same, but don't worry, I got you covered. And when I brought out my fairy box and I set it on my lap, this mom in front of the 30 people there went, oh, this is my favorite part. And I hadn't even opened it or started the story. So the power of props can really take your Santa to the next level. So don't underestimate any prop. Whether it doesn't matter if it's a small prop all the way up to some of the bigger ones we see. All of them are powerful and increase your storytelling and your presence.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. Remember, folks, if you're not watching this live stream and have a question or comment for our special guest, just put it in the comment box when watching the replay, and we'll forward those and do our best to get those answered for you. And welcome back, Bob.
Mine's not
We
working.
got Bob back, but we don't have Angela back. Lightning struck right out back of our house, and we had power go off for momentarily. Came back on, but it kicked us completely out. So it's we're having quite a thunderstorm here right now.
I'm scared if I leave my studio, it'll knock y'all off. So
Yeah.
I can
Yeah, we're
see like comments, but I cannot see anything else.
She's scared.
anyway, invite everyone to share and invite your friends to our weekly Tuesday night live broadcast, as well as our Bob and Barry live preview show we do on Mondays at 3 p.m., as well as both of our Facebook groups. You can find us at Santa in the Business of Being Santa and Sat Bob's Live. And now you can find us on YouTube at Tuesday Night Live Show. So be sure to tune into that and check out those guests on our videos we've had.
That's correct. And we'll also be putting the Bob and Barry show over there on the Tuesday Night Live format. So they'll all be categorized. They're categorized together. So Elf Angela was scared to try to come back in because she didn't want to knock us off the air. So I think she's got some control going over here, it looks like. So
Yeah, I just can't see y'all on.
all right. So Michael, you're getting a lot of comments there. Roger is popping up. So
Yeah, I think I see So Greg asked, is there going to be integration from the website? For filling out information, there definitely will be. There'll be a contact form in there that you'll be able to create, put it on your website, so you'll be able to get get all those informations, and it'll feed right into the Kringle tracker system.
Awesome. Well, Roger, thank you so much for coming on the Tuesday Night Live show and giving and sharing your time. God bless you, brother, and pray that Kringle tracker is very successful for you there.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. So before we go, we need to reveal the trivia answers. Did you do that while I was off?
No, we did not, Bob.
Okay.
Did you do the point of view or?
He's done all that.
Okay, he's already did all that. All right, fantastic. All right then. So the sleigh driver apparel, the answer to that question was the engine is lost due to the shortage of Christmas spirit. Barry even had a longer explanation for that. Did you want to explain that or just go with it?
Absolutely. Santa had 8 reindeer churning and 1 jet engine burning. And because that Christmas spirit was so low, it was a lot of strain on that mount on that 1 jet engine. And it snapped. It had a fatigue crack and it came off. So that's why Buddy the Elf had to come in and put that jet engine back on the sleigh and get her going again.
There you go. And Ray, just contact Spangle over there at stuffforsanta.com. You can go to the website and order it, and he'll automatically, if it's ordered today, tonight, or through next Monday, he'll automatically give you the discount on that, so you should be good to go. All right, so the second question, trivia question tonight, stuffforsanta.com and schoolofsantas.com. Was every child wanted what Whammo toy for Christmas in 57? That was a hula hoop. I think we all had fun with those. Us guys didn't wiggle our hips like the ladies did when we played with them. We like to roll them and spin them. Backspin them where they would spin back to you. I love doing that with them. All right, Roger. We want to thank you so much, brother, for coming on. I think everybody loved the portion on the Kringle tracker, and it's going to really help so many of us. It's going to be a big hit. I can see that. I can look in the crystal ball and tell. Great big thanks to all our sponsors, and thanks for all of you for tuning in for tonight. Remember, you can catch the recorded replays over there on both the groups. Remember to join us for our next Tuesday Night Live, 7 p.m. every Tuesday, Central Time, of course. Same class time, same class channel. Thanks again, Roger. Thanks, Barry. Thanks, Elf Angela. Thanks to our sponsors. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless. See everyone next time.
And before I signed out, I'd like to take a little moment. There was a tragedy in Texas today, and a lot of children lost their lives. So let's pray for those hurting families, okay? Dear Lord, thank you for all your blessings, Father, and some of these tragedies that happen. We just don't understand why, but you know why, Father. And there's a lot of hurting families in Texas and across America tonight and the world, Father, over this tragedy. And I pray that you just heal and put good people in those folks' path to comfort them during this difficult time, Lord. Thank you for my Santa brothers and sisters in the Red Suit community, and each and every one does, Father. And protect us from the storms tonight. These things I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And I hope that the Lord will listen and also see if we can't get some help for those folks that are mentally disturbed, that are having issues, domestic issues. There's so many reasons that people go off the deep end, and it's just a reflection of the times we live in. I understand that, but these folks need help, and it doesn't seem like they're getting the help they need. So God bless everyone. Thank you again for coming tonight. And again, keep the folks in South Texas, Uvalde, in your hearts and prayers.
Remember, we love you, and we do this because we care. God bless you, and good night.
Good night.
Night.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.